everybody, and welcome to Kurt's Angle podcast. I'm Kurt Johansson, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. She's one of the best here in the UK, and one that will be the future of the UK professional wrestling scene for years to come. We talk about her journey through wrestling so far, the goals that she may have, and even being bullied throughout school from when she first said she wanted to be a professional wrestler and wasn't taken serious, and now she's one of the brightest stars we've got here in the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, Alexxis Falcon. But before we hear from Alexxis, for those joining me on YouTube, here's a highlight reel of Alexxis Falcon. Alexxis, thank you for joining us. How are you? Are you okay?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Good.
So yeah, this one's something I'm really excited about, actually. Obviously, when I first reached out to you and was trying to sort this interview out, turns out it's like a really small world, which was quite
It
surreal.
literally is. I just want to discuss how we ended up going to the same school, and we didn't even know, and we literally went to the same secondary school.
I know, that's crazy. What primary school did you go to?
Westcott, because I lived on Garden Village. For people who are listening, they'll have no clue what we're on about unless you're from Hull. But I went to Westcott, so I don't think you'll have been there.
No, I was Gilshill.
Oh, was yeah? That's where all my posh mates are from.
I was far from posh. Is there such thing as posh in Hull?
I mean, no, not really. Unless you went to Armours. If you went to Armours, no one liked you, did they?
No, they did not. But yes, it's so weird the fact like we started talking and was like, oh, somebody else from Hull, and then obviously Liverpool's adopted you. Essentially, you've left us for Liverpool.
I'm a full-time Scouser now.
Yeah, Scouse. And it's so weird because I was like, yep, there's the Hull. Oh, there's the Scouse accent, and it proper throws me off.
It's like I still say like if I go up to a bar in Liverpool, I'll go, can I have a can of Kirk, please?
Yeah.
And I'll sound, the actual saying will be dead Scouse, but when I say Kirk, they go, a what? And I'm like, a can of Kirk, and they're like, what's one of them? And I'm like, Kirk, as in Coca-Cola. And honestly, I had literally an argument with a woman in Wetherspoons once because she could not understand when I asked for a pint of Kirk. I was like, why aren't you understanding what I'm saying? I want a pint of Kirk. And then I went, Coke, like that. And she went, oh, a Coke. And I was like, yeah. Honest to God. So the ers still cause me a problem because I've never lost that. But the rest of my accent, I have.
Nah, it's funny, like, everybody always picks it up on me when I'm like, no.
Yeah. Well, I did it. I literally, when I was a babyface at TNT, and because I'm like an adopted Scouser, so I'm technically like a babyface there. And at the end of last year, I went on the mic and I said I've been determined, like it was a real babyfacey promo, like I'm determined to make this like the breaking ground for the future of British wrestling. And then I said home. And everyone in the crowd went, like, and I was like, right, you're not meant to take the piss out of me while I'm stood here. Like, you're meant to be cheering me, but they couldn't help it. And then even like some of the fans said to me, they went, oh, we are sorry, but you just talk dead funny. And I was like, I know, I can't help it.
Yeah. I'd like to think we've got one of the better Yorkshire accents, though.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, it's that Leeds accent. When I was at Hull City coaching, I'd do some stuff at Selby College, and all I used to get was "in the library." That's right, good that is.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, can't be doing that one.
Yeah, no, that does annoy me. that does really annoy me. And then when people mimic my accent, they do that, and I'm like, we don't talk like that. Like, you're not talking like you me. You're talking like you're from Doncaster or like Sheffield, and that's not how we speak.
Like, we don't speak great, but we're not that bad.
I know. Madness.
But no, like, such a small world, like you said, like same secondary school. I think it'd have been like your first year as I was going out in my last.
Yeah,
But it's just such a small world.
it really is.
It's ridiculous. Um, but yeah. So, anyways, if we've not bored everybody with talking about Hull, let's get into the wrestling.
Of course.
So yeah, when I noticed that you was from Hull and you hadn't really trained with NGW, so I think it'd be quite an interesting story of how you got into the business. But beforehand, like, why wrestling? Like, what was your first memory of wrestling?
Do you know what? And this is, you're gonna laugh here. So when I watched it quite late on. So I
Okay.
watched it a little bit when I was like a little kid, but it never really interested me that much because I was too like small and young to understand it.
Yeah.
And when I think I'm maybe in about year 4, 5, or 6, like towards the end of primary school, that was when I started watching it with my late granddad. And it was like in the days where I'd say like Jeff Hardy and Lita and Matt Hardy. So it was around about that
Yeah.
time, and Lita and Edge and like Vicky Guerrero. Like I really remember that being like the focus of the story.
Yeah.
So that was when I was like mainly into it. And it was weird because I was really, really into it going into like year 7 of secondary school.
Okay.
And that's when everyone goes out of it, isn't it? So everyone at that point knew it wasn't real or
Yeah.
predetermined, so shall we call it? And I knew, but I was still really invested, and I used to say to my mum and dad, I used to go, I want to be a wrestler when I grow up. But they'd be like, no, you're not, and I'd be like, I am. I want to be a wrestler. And on my first day in year 7, which is funnily enough that we went to the same school because I'll never let this go. So on my first day of year 7, our form tutor, Mr. Gray, he went round and said to everyone, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was a little bit of an ugly kid. Like I have blossomed since growing up because I had like real wonky teeth before I had my braces. And I just looked a little bit like a nerd. And I had like a school uniform on that was too big for me because my mum had bought me a size that had last me all the way through school. And I said, oh, I want to be a wrestler. So they turned around and the full class laughed, and someone went, you have to be pretty to be a wrestler. And I was like, where? And it never left me from the day I left. Even in like year 9 to 10, I stopped watching wrestling. I'd kind of like grown out of it for like a few years.
Yeah.
And even in them years, everyone was like, oh, it's Alex the wrestler. And it never left. Like, I got bullied for it. For like, even if it was just banter, like, it never left me. It was always, oh, there's Alex. She wants to be a wrestler when she's older. And then literally, without fail, once a week, someone would go, do you still want to be a wrestler, Alex? And I'd be like, stop it. I don't even want to be one anymore. You know, like, just when you say that to just shut them
Yeah.
all up. But yeah, that's why, because and I think that everyone taking the piss out of me drove me on even more. I was like, well,
Yeah.
now that you're all taking the piss, I'm gonna do it. So
So
yeah, that's why.
so you kind of went out of it from like year 9 or 10. When did you get back into it and think, right, I said out from year 7, I've been bullied all the way through high school because I said I wanted to be a professional wrestler. I'm going to go make that happen. How did that come about?
So I started watching it again in about year 11. And when I was in sixth form as well, I went to Wyke.
Okay.
And there was a few people. I did like chemistry at Wyke, and so as you can imagine, there was like kind of, I don't really want to say like the geekier kind because I was one of those people as well,
Yeah.
but more so people, we wasn't really asked about like going out all the time, which I did go out and have a good time,
They were
but
academic, let's say.
yeah, but they also watched a little bit of wrestling. So when I said I watched it as well, it wasn't as weird
Mm.
because there was more wrestling fans than I didn't have any at my school. So at Mally in my year, from what I know and the people I spoke to, I didn't know anyone that watched it still when I did in like year 11.
Me neither.
And yeah, and even me mates, like my girl mates used to take the piss and be like, oh, here goes Alex with a fucking wrestling again. I started watching it again in like year 11, and I was real into it in college because I used to finish both years. I used to finish at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. So my mum
Okay.
would pick me up from Wyke, bring me home, and I'd put on the pre-recorded Monday Night Raw on. So that was always like good because I had like time to watch it more than I did when I was
Yeah.
at school. And then when I went to uni, I was still watching it, and I didn't know anyone in my halls who liked it. They all thought I was weird. I never used to go to my lectures on a Tuesday, so I used to stay up till all hours. I used to not go out on a Monday night because I wanted to watch Raw. I used to not go out on a Friday because I wanted to watch SmackDown. Oh no, it was Tuesdays it was on.
Yeah.
It was on Tuesdays. So I used to be late to my lecture on a Wednesday, and people used to think I was smashed, but it wasn't. It's because I'd be up all night watching wrestling. But and then I didn't have really any mates. I hated university. I know people say it was like the best, meant to be the best time of your life, but I did make some friends, but the not friends I'd call friends for life.
Okay.
The people I have like fell out of touch with. And in my first year, I found it really rough because I didn't get on with my housemates at all because we was just polar opposite people.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of them people who really says it as it is. And I was in a room, like a house full of people who were like quite quiet and like you just didn't know what mood they were going to wake up in. Like you'd literally go down and say hi, and they'd scour at you, and I'd be like, oh, I can't be arsed with you. But so in the end, I thought I need something to keep like me away from the house. So I thought now is a better time than ever. And I went home over Christmas, and I had a real tough Christmas that time because I just said I like broke down to my mum and I said, "Oh, mum," I said I want to quit uni. I said I don't get on with any of my housemates. I absolutely hate them all. This is happening. I'm not enjoying my course. And my mum was like, why don't you text them up? So I thought, I'm going to have to. And I thought, now is a better time than ever to take up wrestling because I've been saying I've wanted to do it for years and now I need to do it. And then I just found a school near where I was, and I lived near Liverpool Lime Street Station as well. I only lived about a 5-minute walk.
Okay.
So I walked to the train station and got the training to Runcorn, and I started training at RWA. I don't train there anymore, but that's where I started out.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then since then been wrestling.
Well, was that your first introduction to British wrestling, or had you seen some British wrestling beforehand?
No, I'd actually my first show I ever went to was TNT.
Oh, was it?
I'd gone on a night out with a friend, and I'd gone to watch TNT. Like it was in like the September or October time.
Yeah.
I can't remember when it was. Like it was quite soon to me starting uni. I'd only been there a couple of weeks or months, and I'd gone to TNT, and I was like, "Oh, this is sick!" And obviously TNT was like 18 plus at the time, and there was just weapons, and people was just doing like moonsaults off balconies. It was crazy. So I was like, "Oh my god!" Like when I went, I was like, "I'll never be able to do any of this," but I found it amazing. So TNT was my first real introduction to British wrestling. I
Yeah.
suppose what a way to be introduced.
Nah, it's carnage as well. Like,
I know.
especially when you are in that probably time in your life where like, right, I've been bullied for all this, and then you see something so completely different to what WWE are doing, and it's so edgy, and it's
Oh,
got
100%.
it's got that nightlife vibrancy to it and things like that.
Yeah.
So, who was your trainer at RWA?
It was Andy Baker.
Okay. And how long was you there for?
On and off, because I then started training at Wrestle Pro, which is now known under Sam Bailey, which is now I now train under with him at Fighting Spirit and Future Shock Academy. But I was training there on and off for about a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. But I was going to Wrestle Pro as well, so I trained there for about a year and NGW because that was when I came, back to Hull for a little bit, and I trained there for a while. So I trained there for a little bit and then started going to what's now known as Future Shock. So I alternated between the two, but I stopped going there about maybe a year and a half ago now, maybe longer.
Okay. So who was it that trained you at NGW?
Nathan Cruz.
Was you in Nathan's class? Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Okay. So you've been training at RWA. You've gone to Wrestle Pro, which is then turned into Fighting Spirit and Future Shock. You've done a couple with NGW. So how long had you been training before you had that first ever match, like in front of a live paying crowd?
So I did have a few. So at RWA, it was classed as like training shows, so we don't actually get paid to be on the shows.
Yeah.
which is partly one of the reasons that I left. But that was about 10 months in. But like I say, I'd been on and off because I'd been going home. I went home for a month where I didn't know that NGW was a thing, and then I came back to Liverpool, and then I went back home, and I was home for like 3 weeks before I found out that there was a wrestling show. So the amount of actual times I'd been training, I'd probably say it was about 8 months before I had my first match.
Okay, who was that against?
It was against a girl called Lucy Sky. She's based in Wigan. I've wrestled her very recently, actually.
And how do you feel like that first match went? Like, what were the nerves? What was the feedback from that first match? And obviously, taking those bumps, like, it's make or break for you.
100%. And to be honest, I'm kind of glad that it was in front of kind of like a trainee show crowd, because it did relieve that pressure. Because as nervous as I felt, the nerves didn't compare to when I first went out at maybe Future Shock or TNT, you know, like the bigger companies that people have heard of. So when I had that first match, when people look back at the first matches, people always say that it was awful, but I look back at mine, and me and Bryony, her name's Bryony in real life, that's a shoot name, and we love that match. Like, we had a match the other week, and we've both changed loads as wrestlers, like, it's mad. And we was like, oh, should we repeat that spot that we did our first ever match? Just because it was like, it genuinely wasn't that bad. She carried me through it, don't get me wrong. Like, she absolutely carried me. I don't think I did anything in the full match. I think we did an international for the Shine and a bump in feeds as the comeback. But I think because we kept it so simple and everything else was fine, that it was like, that's what made it that okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was absolutely passable for a first match, and I expected it to be carnage, but it weren't.
So when did you start like venturing out, like you said, when you work, because you work for a few companies now with like TNT, Fierce Females, Future Shock, Wrestle Island, and more? Like, when did you start venturing out and stop doing those academy shows?
So it was in 2017, and I want to say it was like July, August time. I can't remember off the top of my head. But the first show that I worked outside that was a PCW show against Rio, which is really strange because that was when Rio was quite newish. And I was quite newish. I think Rio's been doing it just a little bit, maybe a year longer than I have. And it's really weird because we've just seemed to wrestle each other all the time. Like, we went through a phase of always wrestling each other, and then we're still back. We wrestled each other last month still. So it's mad because we both come on as wrestlers, and then we're still wrestling each other all the time. I really enjoy wrestling Rio. And it was also Alpha Omega, which is coming back. It's making a comeback as Odyssey Pro Wrestling, I believe. I think that's the name that they're calling it.
Okay.
I'll have to double check that for you. But yeah, so I first went there, and I got pushed quite quickly there because they didn't really have any females. And they was like, so you're going to win the belt next month. And I was like, oh, like, I've only had a couple of matches. I'm really not ready for that. I've only had like trainee show matches. And they was like, but we ain't got any women. They was like, so no pressure, but you're going to have to be a really good baby face. And I was like, at this point, I'd never worked face. I'd only ever been heel.
When you say,
like, I can't.
When you say win their belt, was it a women's belt or was it just their main? Okay.
Yeah, it was the women's championship, and they said, you're going over next month. And I said, no, I can't. And I literally turned around to the promoter and I said, why? And he went, what? And he laughed and he went, why are you saying why? He was like, you should be made up. And I went, but why though? I was like, I can't understand it. And he was like, because I've seen you. And I said, but you've never seen me work babyface. I said, I've never even seen me work babyface. I don't know if I'm good or bad. And he was like, oh, well, I've got faith in you, so no pressure. Go out and be good. And I went out, and I don't know if you've ever been to one of the shows in Markham. I have double checked, by the way, and it is going to be called Odyssey Pro Wrestling, so I was correct. It's still real in Markham. It is 100% still real in Markham. The fans believe it, and they'd only seen me like twice. It literally said I'd come out and cut a promo one show, I'd come out and had a match and got beat the next, and then the next one was when I won. And honest to God, you would think that bloody Hulk Hogan just returned at WrestleMania. Like, honest to God, that is, you would really think that. It was crazy, and I was like, why do they love me this much? And then when I lost it, there was riots, like, because I had a few of them on Facebook, and there was person on Facebook going, I know it's not real, but if that promoter, whoever's running that show, needs to change their mind, and this is not okay, and like, genuinely, it's still real to them.
Oh,
And
wow.
then when I won it back again, like, I've posted a photo on I've posted a video on my Instagram of the reaction from it, because it's just unbelievable. Like, you just would not believe how into it they are.
Yeah.
So I was really glad that that was one of my first promotions, because it was such a good promotion to work for, and a really, really good crowd, and I think it really helped me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's must have given you a lot of confidence for somebody that was so nervous telling the promoter no, like why are you putting the title on me, and that be the reaction.
I know. Well, I couldn't believe it. And I came back, and Kieran, the promoter at the time, he just went, I knew I'd made the right decision. And I was like, I can't believe it. And he was like, I knew it. He was like, because you're so like new, and like no one really knows who you are yet, you literally are that underdog. He's like, and you've told the story exactly how we wanted you to do it. Where you've just overcome the odds, but straight away. And like, you've made this your kingdom now. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is unreal. Like, I felt like it was real. Like, and I said, I was like, because it was the first belt that I won. And I said,
Yeah.
I'm not going to cry, because I already know I'm winning. I'm not going to cry. But because of how the fans reacted, I shed a tear, and I don't cry at anything. Literally, I do not cry at anything. Nothing upsets me except Disney films. And I was sobbing. I was like, oh my God, like, I felt like it was real. And I just think like moments like that, I would say that's probably my highlight in wrestling
Oh,
at
wow.
this moment.
Yeah.
Especially because I think when you're a babyface and you win it, and especially with a crowd like that, I think even Zach Gibson,
Yeah.
he worked there about a year ago now on their last ever show, and he tweeted saying it's still real in Morecambe, and he couldn't believe it. He even came backstage and he was like, I cannot believe that crowd. Like, literally, they'll eat anything up. You did a wrist lock, and they'd scream like it was the best thing they've ever seen.
No, that's good though. I like it when it's places like that. I remember going to WAW. I'd gone down with Nathan, and I was helping with like his merch and stuff whilst he was doing a weekend for their TV shows. And
Yeah,
they're the same. Their fans just take it so passionately, and it's refreshing. Like
it really is.
as a fan to be within that. So for a talent like yourself to be in front of a crowd like that, where they're not a smart crowd, they're not doing things to get themselves over, but that is
Yeah.
such a high feeling.
It is, because, and then in the nicest possible way, you don't have to go out and nearly kill yourself to get a good reaction.
Yeah.
You can literally do like a couple of things, tell an actual story rather than have to do 1,000,001 different spots. And they give you genuine reactions, because you genuinely want to see the good guy win. And like, there's no such thing as tweeners there. You're either a baddie or a goodie. There's no in between. Like, you're either the villain or not, or the hero. Do you know what I mean? And that's really good as well, because you can literally just go out and be so generic, and they'll just eat anything up, and it is really refreshing.
Okay. So what's the difference between yourself as the babyface and yourself as the heel? Like, who is Alexxis Falcon?
Now, not as much, but basically, I'm kind of like, I flirt with anyone and everyone, including women. When I'm in the ring with a babyface or heel, I think that I've got it all. Kind of like, I want to say like old school Melina. Like, I think I've got it all.
Yeah.
And I know that everyone wants me, but they don't actually want me. And I'm like, but you do though, don't you? And I'll let the fan, like, especially as a heel, like, I had to do this thing at Future Shock where I had to literally go over to the fans once and be like, go on, you can touch me, I'm not going to mind, and like sit on the knees and stuff. It was borderline harassment. And that, honestly, the promoter was like, go on, do it, it'll be funny. And I was like, this is borderline harassment, but it wasn't. Like, in the end, it was fine. But and I'd be like, go on. And then the minute that they'd like try and pry back, I'd be like, go away. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like that, like the cheeky little flirt who thinks she's a lot better than she is. Babyface and heel.
So there's not much difference there, really, is there?
No.
So you've mentioned Future Shock quite a lot, and you mentioned when you won the Alpha Omega Women's Championship, you've been the women's champion in Future Shock. Like, how was that? Like, you've been training there under Sam Bailey. How did all that come about?
Again, that was a really, really fast turnaround as well. So that was probably another career highlight, actually. The only reason I would probably put Alpha before it is because I was a babyface and the fans wanted me to win. Whereas at Future Shock, they all booed the absolute fuck out of me. And I was like, oh, this isn't very nice. Like, everyone should be happy. This isn't how it went last time. But no, because it was at Stockport Town Hall, which is my favourite venue to wrestle in. I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but absolutely beautiful venue.
Yeah.
And I turned up and I had in my head, because I was wrestling Lana.
Okay.
And I had in my head, I was like, I'd been watching her Instagram stories, and because it was the first singles match I had over there, and I was watching her Instagram stories, I was like, right, okay, so that's her finish. So I was trying to figure out how to like get set up into it. And then I get there and I said, oh, so what's your finish then? And she said, oh, well, you're going over. And I was like, no, I'm not. And no one had told me, like literally no one had told me. And everyone knew. And there was no run sheet. I couldn't find a run sheet. So I went over to the promoter at the time and I was like, Brooke, like, who's going over in this match? And he was like, oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you. I was like, everyone's known except you. And I was like, well, thanks for telling me that. So everyone who got there before me knew, but I didn't know. But yeah, it was a really good match and probably one of my favourite matches that I've ever had. So, and you know, Lana's amazing to work with.
Yeah.
She's a really good talent. So yeah, that was a real big highlight for me.
So everything just kind of gets thrown at you last minute, then, it seems.
Yeah, I'm like the last minute gal, and do you know what? I don't know why, because I'm not very good under pressure like that. I'm like, stop throwing things at me last minute. I need time to prepare, meditate.
So how would you say the contrast in between like the Future Shock fans, the Alpha Omega fans, now Odyssey Pro, compared to like the rowdier crowd with TNT?
Future Shock are very much like Alpha as well. You do have a few smart fans in there, but I don't mind them, because if you've ever got a match where you think that the crowd are quite quiet, you can rely on the smart fans to start a chant going.
Yeah.
Like there'll be this. I don't know if you've heard the podcast Graps and Claps.
Yeah.
They go to all the Future Shock and Tidal shows, and they've recently been to TNT, where there was like, it was so weird seeing her as a babyface because they've only ever seen me work heel. But you can always rely on them. If I think that the crowd are going to go quiet, I will literally look at them, and I don't even need to say anything, but I will. But they'll literally just come up and start chanting, and then everyone follows them. So sometimes you do need those types of like rowdy fans.
Yeah.
And they're not actually smart either. So they're not knobheads who purposely boo the faces and cheer the heels.
Yeah.
You do have them at TNT.
Yeah.
Which can become annoying. I've been thinking it with it myself. And then they come up to you, the fans will come up to you afterwards. So one of them booed the absolute fuck out of me last week against Jade. And I was like, oh, he was cheering for me last week. And then afterwards, as soon as Jade's gone to the back and I'm walking to the back, he's on his hands clapping. And I literally looked at him and stuck my middle finger up and I went, don't fucking cheer for me now. And then I was stood at the bar at the interval and he come over and he's like, oh, it's only banter. And I was like, no. I was like, you don't realise how difficult that makes somebody's job. I was like, because a promoter who may not necessarily be a wrestling fan or know how wrestling fans work will instantly think that we're doing a bad job if you are cheering the heel and booing the face. And I've been heel and they've cheered me. Wrestle Island, prime example. I was in the biggest heel faction that they had there. I was the biggest heel girl that they had, and I was getting cheered and cheered and cheered and cheered and cheered. I kept getting booked against lads and I was destroying them all. And I just turned around to the promoter and I went, you need to turn me babyface. And he was like, why? And I said, because the fans are behind me. And I said, and it's not even the smart fans anymore. I said, because the smart fans have cheered me that much that the little kids have gone, oh, well, she must be a goodie. Even though she's beating people up, she must be a good guy because they're all cheering for her. So the kids have started cheering now. I was like, you need to. So sometimes it can just cause you a face turn that you don't want, but it works in your favour sometimes.
Nah, I can imagine like how difficult that can be, because you do get those fans where they're there to try and get themselves over, essentially.
Yeah.
Where it can be frustrating, but it's good to see that you seem to handle that quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I do. I think if there's anything I lack in wrestling, it's not crowd work. And I've had this on a few people who have like reviewed my matches. They're like, oh, Alexxis is really, really good at crowd work. She always knows how to get people to boo her, and stuff like that. So not so much as a babyface. I think it's a lot harder as a babyface to get fans behind you. And I am very firm believer in that it is a heel's job to get the babyface over.
Yeah.
And if you've got a bad heel in a match, it's very difficult to then become over as a babyface if the heel's not doing anything. Because if you're not being a dickhead, why would I want to cheer for the person who's getting beat up by someone who's actually not that much of a knobhead? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no, I'd agree.
It's like watching a boxing match where both of them are actually all right, and you think, you can't really call this. I'm not really going to be that arsed. Whereas when it's someone who, you know, like Tyson Fury, who you've got your money on to just knock out, you're like, the other guy's a proper knobhead because they've got him over by how good. Do you know what I mean? It's weird.
So I'm taking it you're a Fury fan.
No, I'm not.
You're not a Fury fan.
I've heard nothing about it, nothing but shit about it in work, which is why I brought it up. I did used to box. I boxed at City of Hull on Greenwood Ave. It was on Greenwood Ave at the time. I think it's in Anlaby now.
Yeah.
But I used to box there for a few years when I was at school. So I do like me boxing, but not as much now.
Do you incorporate any of that into your moveset? Like, do you go for that big knockout punch?
No, because I can't pull it back.
And you just end up knocking them out anyway.
Yeah. When I first started training and we had to do jabs, Andy had said, oh, your jabs are really good. I said, oh, yeah, no, I used to box. But we was doing them on like a dummy thing. Yeah. And then when I did it on someone at the time, they went, fucking hell. And I was like, what? I said, Andy said that they're good. And they went, you've fucking full on hitting me in the neck. And I went, oh, sorry. So ever since then, I'll do them in training. But now I'm just like, there's just no point.
So you mentioned with Wrestle Ireland, you go through women, you go through the men. What's your thoughts on intergender wrestling?
I absolutely love it. Yeah, absolutely love it. I think that people who say, and sorry if this is you, because I don't know if it is, people who say it's promoting domestic abuse is stupid, because I've wrestled men where I've been the heel and I've battered the man, and they've still been behind the fella. I've wrestled my boyfriend very recently, JJ Webb. We literally wrestled each other the other week, and the promoter did say to me, oh, do you want me to mention on the graphic or like the announcement that you're a couple? And I went, no, because that is promoting domestic abuse, because I'm going to be battering him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going over, and domestic abuse happens to men and it happens to women as well. So I was like, it's just a silly thing to say. I get the unrealisticness of it sometimes, because if you put me in the ring against someone who's 7 foot tall and absolutely huge, of course I'm going to get squashed. But sometimes the main thing that pisses me off about wrestling men, and this goes for everyone, is men who are not that big, who are literally maybe, because I weigh quite a lot. I've put on a lot of weight because I work in a call centre, and I've put on 2 stone since working there. And I'm not the skinniest of people. I'm 5'3", but there is some lads in wrestling that are like maybe 5'5", 5'6". I've wrestled women that are bigger than them that'll bump for you no matter what. They'll be like, yeah, of course, and they'll bump for you and not care. But some of the men, but the minute that they see the wrestling woman, they're like, oh, obviously I'm going to say that I'm going to tease you about being a woman at the start of the match. And I'm like, no, like there's so no need for that. Like I've got a pair of tits. That's the only difference. Like it really doesn't make a difference. You can still bump for me and I will still bump for you. It was when, because obviously I mentioned about Peter, the promoter at Wrestle Island, kept booking me against the men. And that was what started getting me over. And then when he put me in the Rumble to go from 1 to 30, I turned around to him and I said, oh, so is this my face turn tonight then? Because I've been nagging to turn face for a while. And he went, no. And I went, what do you mean, no? And he was like, no, we still want you as a heel. And I was like, but you putting me in as like one of the only women in this Rumble to go in at entrant number 1 and win it. I was like, there's no way that's going to make me a heel. And he was like, oh, well, we'll just see how the crowd reacts here. And I had like a promo planned in my head for after the match, and I knew it was going to be a babyface one.
How was that for you? So going from 1 to 30, like, how did you cope with that physically? Because it could be draining on your body, but how did the fans take that as well?
I don't even want to think about it. I'm asthmatic. I said to the promoter, I went, I am an asthmatic. I cannot go that long. I gave one of the referees, James Greenwood, he had my inhaler in his pocket. I got knocked out 6 minutes in. I kept rolling under the bottom rope and just literally, I was just sat on the outside for all of it. That was the good part about being a heel going into the match. Yeah. Because I could just dick around, but God, I couldn't get out of bed the next day.
So the next time somebody asks you to go 1 to 30, what are you going to be saying to them?
I'm just going to be like, I'll pass on that. Like, thank you for believing in me, but I think I will pass.
So, obviously, you mentioned Wrestle Island as well. We were speaking before we went on with your match against Jade. You said that that match wasn't that great. You wasn't feeling too good.
No, I was so poorly, and bless Jade. I'd got there to the show and I said, no one touch me, I'm ill. No one come shake hands with me, I'm really ill. I'd been throwing up, I had tonsillitis, I was full of cold. I'd just had everything. I've got quite a weak immune system anyway. And I was like, go away from me. And then Jade is behind me and she can hear me going to people, oh, don't touch me, I'm ill. And Jade turned around and went, I'm fucking wrestling you in about an hour. And I said, oh, I know, I'm sorry. And she texted me the next day and she did she does this thing where she does like the fish hook in your mouth. Yep. She said, are you okay with me doing that? And I said, I think the question is, are you okay with me doing that? Are you okay doing that? Because I'm really not well and I can't guarantee that you're not going to get sick. And she said, oh, no, I think I'll be fine. And then she texted me the next day with a bag of fisherman's friends. And she said, oh, you're a knobhead. But no, the match itself, it wasn't the best match I've had, but it wasn't on her at all. It was literally, I made no noise. I didn't connect on anything. And because I said to my boyfriend before I left, I said, oh, I'm real tempted to just pull out, I said, I'm really ill. And I said, that's the last time I'll wrestle ill. If I'm ever ill again, I will not hesitate to pull out because, my God, it was the worst experience of my life.
So, your TNT match, you got such good feedback for that match with Jade. Would you say she's one of your favourite opponents to go against?
I would, my favourite people to go against, she is 100% up there. I also love wrestling Lana. I think Lana's really good. Charlie Evans is really, really good. Tonga, she's my best friend in real life. So we can just beat the shit out of each other and it doesn't really matter. And another person I had a really good match against as well was Brady Phillips.
Okay, yeah.
At 4GW. Really enjoy wrestling him. So yeah, but Jade is really talented. She's really, really good. And she's so easy to work with as well.
No, bro. So what are your goals with like TNT? Obviously, I can't even think if it's been confirmed that will be happening. Like, who knows with obviously coronavirus, but with the annual tournament of death that they do, there's been all signs pointing towards that there will be like a women's tournament of death. Is that something you'd be, you know what, I'm going to go do it?
To be absolutely honest with you, I don't know. I would love to, but at the same time, I've never had any other than a street fight.
Yeah.
I've never had experience in a death match, so I don't know if they would be getting women that are known for doing death matches. But if they asked me to do it, I 100% would not turn down the offer. Absolutely not. It's something I've wanted to do for a while.
Oh, bro, I'm definitely tweeting that out. But then I'll feel bad when I'm there watching and you just get him like light tubes smashed over you. I'm like, oh no, what have I done?
I know.
What have I done?
I get really injured.
Oh, don't say that. So, what other like goals have you got in wrestling?
I do want to go to Japan.
Yeah.
Within maybe the next 5 years, I'd absolutely love to go to Japan. Obviously NXT UK would absolutely love to make it there.
Yep.
I really enjoy the product that they've got at the minute. I think they've picked some of the most talented people on the roster, which, although it had the backlash within British wrestling promotions as it did, I think it's done nothing but good, because it's given chances to people like me to step up and take their place on indie wrestling promotions.
Yes.
And then eventually, when I'm ready, then obviously I'd never pass up the offer, but I'd absolutely love to go there. I'm so made up for a lot of the people who are on it. Zach and James Drake at the minute, they're doing so well. I've been trained by them a couple of times.
Yeah.
And there's the people I really respect and look up to, and like Chris Sharp's doing really well, refereeing there. El Liguero's doing really well. I can't think of any woman in the UK at the minute better than Toni Storm, and I think she's been the best since I started wrestling. So they've picked, and Viper as well, Kaylee Ray. They've picked some of the best people that I couldn't have possibly picked better. Do you know what I mean? So it's done nothing but good for the scene, I think, because now they're having the most talented people are having the chance to wrestle on this platform, whereas the future people are having the chance to be pushed higher on the independent scene, that when the time comes for it, we may be ready to take that next step, if that makes sense.
Now, I'm so happy you said that. The amount of debates I'd been in regarding, like, I just launched like a series with Curtis Angle, Brit Rest isn't dead, because it isn't dead.
It's not.
It's
It's literally not. It's better than it's ever been before.
Exactly.
It literally is. It's literally better than it's ever been before. Obviously, it's sad that there's promotions that haven't lasted through, what's happened. But you've got to think, how long has that been coming for? Is it because was NXT UK the icing on the cake for them? There was clearly something in the pipeline for them. And some promotions are just not meant to be. And that's absolutely fine, because where one promotion goes, another one comes in, or it means that another promotion can, go into business with the one that may be going out and become even bigger and run more shows in different places.
Yep.
It's done nothing but good, I think. And it's kind of like the circle of life, but for wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's like you said, it gives chance to yourselves or another up and coming talent to prove that,
of course,
hey, I can do this too. And I think, with as sad as it is with some of the companies closing, again, it would have been a long time coming. It's not just an overnight thing. And
no, it's not. You wouldn't just decide one day because you can't get one person on your show. Oh well, we've got to close the promotion. Do you know what I mean? Like, it'll have been a long time coming, and for a lot of them as well, they've come back, or they've gone into business with somebody else, which has been even better for them. So for me, it's done nothing but good for the scene, I think. I don't think Brit Rest is dead at all.
Nah, that's really good. So how does it feel being in this generation of wrestling when WWE is so attainable? It used to be so unattainable for people on this land. It was so few and far between those that would get signed by WWE, and now they're on your doorstep. How does that feel for you, like, as one of your goals?
Obviously, it's unreal. Like, it's something you would never have even thought of or put together like years ago. Even like 2 years ago, you just wouldn't have even, you wouldn't have even thought of it being a thing. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's not even just that though, is it? Like, there's so much now, like Ring of Honor, Impact, the companies in Japan, New Japan, Stardom. You've got All Elite now. All Elite are doing so well, unbelievably well. You know, it's not the be all and end all. There's so much now where it's becoming an actual professional wrestler is becoming so much more achievable than it ever would have been, because if you go back 20 years ago, well, maybe less than that, maybe 10, 15 years ago, the only places that you'd really think of off the top of your head would have been WWE, which, like you say, was only based in the States and it was super hard to get there, or Impact, TNA at the time, I think it was. They was like when I was growing up and watching it, they were the only two I really knew of.
No, 100%. And what is it about? I want to go to Japan. Like, what is it about Japan that wants you to go there? Is it just for like a one-stop go for a match, or would you like to be in the dojos? What is it about Japan?
I think when you see people that go to Japan for like a couple of months and then they come back, they're totally different wrestlers. And I've always said that they're totally different. They work differently. They plan differently. They hit differently.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere I would definitely. I think the amount you would learn over there would, you couldn't put a price on it.
Okay, brilliant. So before we wrap up as well, like obviously with coronavirus, a lot of the companies are having to close, not do any of the shows for the foreseeable future. Obviously, if the fans are wanting to go watch some of your matches, they can see your stuff with TNT or Wrestle Island. You can go to Turnbuckle TV for that one. You can do the free membership. There's the free $3.99 membership for just TNT or the Turnbuckle, or $7.99 for everything on there. So definitely check that out to go watch Alexxis Falcon and so much more.
100%.
What about yourself? Like, how can they support you during this time?
So I do have a big cartel store, so they can support me that way. But obviously, everyone's going to be in a tough time at the minute. So I wouldn't expect anything at all. I think pretty much every show I had, which was nearly every weekend up until June, has now been pulled. Some people who are maybe booked for in August is speaking about potentially postponing that because they just don't know how it's going to go. So, to be honest, I think I was saying this to my boyfriend yesterday. I think for a lot of wrestlers, it's going to do the body a lot of good. In a really like bad way. You've got to make light out of a bad situation and every cloud and all that, because I am wrestling most weeks, every week, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. 4 if you include training. And I can't get out of bed some days because I can't be bothered to get baths because I only like a shower because I'm in and out within 5 to 10 minutes, whereas bath I'll just stay in there for ages. And I'm going to work the next day and I'm hobbling around and people at work say to me, "You walk like an old woman," and I'm like, "I know." So I think it'll do people's bodies the world of good. And there's enough content online that people, like you said, people can go and watch. I bought Zumba for the Nintendo Switch because I can't go to the gym anymore. But yeah, I think you've got to make the good out of a bad situation. We can watch it online. I think wrestlers are going to support each other. There's a lot of wrestlers who have wrestling as their sole income that now don't know when the next going to be booked on a show. I am very fortunate to not be in that position as much as I moan about my day job. I'm very fortunate that I've got one that will pay me if I have to go on long-term sick. I'm very lucky to have that. I hope I don't have to go on long-term sick. I am currently isolating for 2 weeks. But I'm asthmatic, so I don't know if I'll need to isolate for even longer. But it's just taking each day as it comes, and hopefully we should have had an announcement in the next 5 minutes from when this podcast is being recorded. So, we'll just see. We'll have to see how it goes. But I'm just hoping that people don't, rush back too quickly. That would be my biggest concern. People rushing back too quickly and the outbreak worsening. That would be the last thing I would want to see, because it is scary.
No, 100%. So when you are getting back, we'll have a look out. I do this thing with whether it's people that I'm collaborating with or whether I'm doing interviews. One more match. So if you were, I'm going to ask you a few different ones. So It's your first match back.
Yep.
Who do you want your opponent to be?
Ooh, this is difficult.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot now.
Ivy, because I've not wrestled her in a while.
Okay, Ivy. What company would you prefer that to be in?
TNT.
TNT.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ivy in TNT.
Yeah.
So you can think of anybody that's based. You mentioned NXT UK. Okay, so if you could face anybody off that roster, who would you want that to be?
No questions, Tony Storm.
Tony Storm.
Yeah,
Okay.
no question about it.
So if you was to get an opponent come from America, whether that's the Independents, AEW, Impact, or anything like that, who do you want that match with? Like, who's that dream match to be facing?
My dream match ever.
Yep.
Charlotte Flair.
Charlotte.
Yeah, I think she is, like, when she first came on, everyone was like, oh, she's gonna get pushed because she's Rick. She is not Ric Flair's daughter anymore. Well, she is, obviously, genetically, but I think she has made a name for herself enough that you no longer look at her as Ric Flair's daughter.
Yeah.
I think she is insanely talented. I think she's better than all the men on the WWE roster at the minute, and that's me honestly saying that. I am very much a feminist, so I could be a little bit biased there, but I believe in what I'm saying.
Nah, she's incredible. Whether it's her athleticism, her in-ring, her character work, it is.
Yeah.
She has something that not many people have, and it's star quality.
Yeah, it is. She 100%. She absolutely oozes champion as well. Like whenever she's not the champion, I'm annoyed because she oozes champion, doesn't she? She just looks like one.
Yeah. Still real to you as well, isn't it?
Yeah. 100%. Still real to me.
What about the guys then? So, any of the guys that are in the UK that you'd want to be facing?
Oh, any guys at the minute?
Somebody you may not have faced yet that's on the list, like
Scott Urberman.
Okay. How come?
I just think he's so good, and he doesn't know how good he is.
Yeah.
He's just getting, and he gets better every time I see him. And I've trained with him a little bit as well, and I'd love to wrestle him in a match.
Okay. And last but not least, so if you're going to Japan, is there anybody you look at in Japan that you're like, oh, I want to get in the ring with them?
At the minute, and they're over there from the UK, Bea Priestley.
Yep.
Jesus Christ, she's so good, and she gets better. She's another one. She gets better every time I see her. I don't know if you watched the match. Did you watch the Nerf Fans Monday?
Yeah, I did.
Match against Will. Oh my God, could not believe it. Yeah, she's unbelievable. But yeah, it's just there's just so many. I couldn't even. I'm probably going to come off this and think, oh, why didn't I say that person, or why didn't I say that person? But you put me on the spot, so.
Yeah, no, I like to do it, and normally when I give people a rundown of like some of the, just to give you an heads up of what I'll speak about, I always like to leave this is one of the things I'm not going to mention, just to try and put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
It's those that you can't overthink it, and it's the quick fire and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So before we tell people where they can find you, I kind of do this. I do from the ground up, where I'm speaking to a lot of people that are still training. They're just breaking out on academy shows and things like that. With you mentioning the route that you went with, especially being bullied through school and things like that, that series is all about trying to inspire others who have aspirations of becoming a professional wrestler and tell the story of those that are following their dreams. So what would you say to people that are contemplating trying to get into wrestling, those that might be outside of that clique at school or in life in general, where they might, like you said, you got bullied for it? What advice would you give them?
I would say always don't listen to the naysayers, and if you don't do it now, you never will. It will take something for people to make that jump. I always think that, because if you ask anyone how they got started into wrestling, it's never just I walked into a training school and that was that. The same way, that I didn't. Someone has to make you jump, but the minute that someone potentially is making you jump, I would say just go for it.
Brilliant. So, Alexxis, where can they find you?
On Twitter, at Alexxis Falcon with 2 X's. I don't know why people spell it with 1. And the same on Instagram as well. And I do have a Facebook page, but I don't really post on there, which is I'm really guilty of never posting on it. But I've also got a Facebook page as well.
Brilliant. And yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute joy speaking to you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Although it's still really weird the fact that 1 minute you sound as if you're from Hull, the next minute you sound as if you're Scouse.
I know, I'm really
does
sorry.
throw me off. And again, guys, you can find me at Kurt's Angle Pod if you want to speak to me directly, at Kurt Johansson 93, and you can also find me speaking with Jamie and Callum over at Ringsiders Pod. This has been Kurt's Angle, interview with Alexxis Falcon. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.